Ja, vielen, vielen Dank. Ich bin ganz emotional jetzt. Und, okay. Ja, meine Rede ist auf Englisch, aber weil ich nur seit 3 Jahren hier in Deutschland bin, 3,5. Und wenn es ganz emotional ist, dann ich fühle mich besser auf Englisch zu ausdrücken. Ja. Okay. I'm Palestinian and Syrian, born and grew up in Turkey. When you meet a Palestinian in diaspora and ask where they are from, you will probably get a complicated answer. Some of us cannot travel to where our grandparents or parents were born because they have refugee status and no citizenship in the countries they are living. Some of us, like in my case, have to apply for an Israeli visa and hope that their Palestinian background won't be found out. Some of us who have the privilege of holding a visa-free passport can travel to their homeland as a tourist, most probably after being checked, insulted at the airport by Israeli officers. Most of our grandparents and parents could never visit their homes again. I'm telling this because I'm sick and tired of non-Palestinians having the audacity to question my Palestinian identity because I stand for coexistence and explain me how horrible the occupation is. I stand for the right of Palestinians and Israelis living in this land together because I believe that peace is possible. I stand for coexistence because I can't take this vicious and violent circle anymore. Acknowledging the rights to existence of all groups that are native to Palestine, Palestinian Muslims, Palestinian Christians, Palestinian Jews, Israeli Arabs, in this land is a precondition for peace, not a cause of conflict. I have been a peace activist since 2013. It was a year after my dad passed away. He had always tried to tell me his story about his home in Yaffo, Tel Aviv, and about Palestine. I didn't want to listen to him because I was rejecting being an Arab. The racism I had experienced as a child in Turkey made me reject my identity. It was too late when I realized that. I wanted to know more about my Palestinian identity after my dad was gone. I started to research and understand more about being Palestinian, being in diaspora. That was also the time when I found my and my siblings' Palestinian refugee passports issued by the Lebanese government. My dad had saved all our Palestinian documents because he believed that there would be a day when we could all go to Yaffo, and for that we would need our documents as the only proof of our Palestinian roots. I am the luckiest one in my family because I was born in Turkey, whereas my siblings were born in Lebanon and in Syria. My Turkish passport looks pretty much Turkish, and that's why I could visit Yaffo as a tourist. My first visit was in 2015, a year after another war between Israel and Palestine. I fell in love with Yaffo the moment I was there. For the first time, I felt home. Yaffo was just like me, a bit of many things. Israelis and Palestinians living together in peace. I remember seeing a bride and groom on the Yaffo pier for photo shoot at sunset. People were passing by and smiling at them and saying Mazal Tov and Mabruk. There were young people sitting together, drinking together and speaking in Arabic and in Hebrew. Kids flying kites, Arab parents drinking their tea, a adhan playing from mosque at the same time while the church bell was ringing. A couple of Jewish people turning their faces to the sea and praying. That was the moment I was convinced that coexistence is the solution. I have been called naive. I have been called naive many times for talking about and asking for peace. I have been even asked how I can imagine coexistence after everything my dad went through. Let me tell you how. As Palestinians and Syrians, all my family members have experienced at least one war. With myself, two of my siblings and German Palestinian cousins being the only exceptions. Some of them have survived the Nakba, the Lebanese civil war in 1975, and the Syrian war. I don't get why people are so surprised to hear that I don't want any more wars. Believe me, I have enough reasons to be full of rage, but I also have enough reasons to show empathy and ask for peace. And the reasons I have for being angry and hateful are also the reasons to show empathy and dream of living in peace. I chose life over death, empathy over hate, peace over violence. And I'm not the only one, as you can see. We are here. We are here a small fraction people worldwide of many Palestinians, Israelis and Jews who reject to be enemies, who call home to the same land and dream of living there together in peace and in dignity. It is time that we understood and acknowledged the fact that all of us, Palestinians, Israelis and Jews, have been suffering from this never-ending nightmare for many years. It's time that we stop comparing our suffering and our pain. Believe me, it is not a competition that anyone would want to win. It is time to stop pointing fingers, but instead start self-reflecting. It's a war between Netanyahu, his Likud, and Hamas, both of whom are right extremists, supported by other fundamentalist right extremists and people driven by fear. Neither Netanyahu nor Hamas is interested in dialogue or in peace talks because both benefit from the fear and traumas of people that live under their government. The existence of one sustains the other and stabilizes their position of power. The number of Gazans killed by the Israeli army has long exceeded 10,000. Among the victims, there are thousands of dead children, dozens of journalists, doctors, and medical personnel. Relatives are fearing for their loved ones. Hamas has killed more than 1,000 people in Israel on a single day. 237 hostages are still believed to be held by Hamas, including children and babies, while relatives fear for their lives. How many more people should die until the whole world agrees on the urgent need of ceasefire? There are still many politicians who are calling it self-defense. Israeli security minister openly says occupation of Gaza Strip is a must. A member of the security cabinet says Gaza Nakba 2023, that's how it will end. IDF soldiers are celebrating on Gaza Beach and calling it the best day of their lives. How is this self-defense? What is happening there in the Gaza Strip is a war crime. While the Israeli government and its supporters claim that they are aiming to destroy the terror organization Hamas, Hamas leaders are using the acts of the Israeli government to justify their own terror. In other words, it is again Israeli government and Hamas who are benefiting from this war. Before I finish, I would like to address the German politicians that still avoid criticizing the Israeli government and reproduce the violent myth that the bombing of Gaza and murder of civilians would be self-defense. Are you really convinced by the military myth that an invasion of Gaza is a self-defense and even an efficient way to eliminate Hamas leaders who thrive in Qatar and Iran? Are you really convinced that murdering more than 12,000 civilians, almost 5,000 of whom are children, is not a war crime? Are you really convinced that showing unconditional support for the Israeli government, against which tens of thousands of Israelis have been protesting every day before and after the 7th of October, is a possible way to fight anti-Semitism? Are you really convinced that Arabs and Muslims are responsible for the increasing anti-Semitism in Germany? Have you checked the statistics? According to the Mitte study by FAS, every 10th person in Germany believes that Jews are too influential. This is anti-Semitism, and these numbers can't be credited to the Muslim population in Germany, which is around 6.5%. Arabs and Muslims cannot account for the increasing gray area of people not willing to stand against anti-Semitism in Germany. Your budget cuts in political education, the sellout of the social state, your ignorance towards the change in your own language and manner can. When did it become okay for politicians of the Green Party and Social Democrats to see deportation as a legitimate form of punishment? Many of you genuinely seem to want to take responsibility for the present and for the past. And yes, you can and you should. When you say nie wieder, how can you not see that the right has long infected your speeches and minds? If you don't see the continuities and stop trying to fight anti-Semitism with racism, you'll be the fuel, not the fire extinguisher. You are saying that Arabs and Muslims should distance themselves from anti-Semitism, otherwise they will be deported. Are you also planning to deport white German neo-Nazis that have never stopped existing in this country? Are you also planning to deport our Jewish friends who are showing solidarity with Palestinians and standing against the Israeli government? When are you going to learn that for us all to live together in peace, we need to get off our high horses? We need to understand that our biographies, our lives, our stories are deeply intertwined, and that none of us is free from the isms of our societies. Accepting this and then trying to understand the continuities to interrupt them is the first step to decolonizing our minds. Thank you.